Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. It's good to have you again with us. You're watching a special broadcast here on DD India. We're calling it hashtag tracking COVID-19. Now it's day 41 of the lockdown. We have 13 more days to go. But the good news is that some restrictions have been eased. Now remember, DD India is your one-stop destination for all information related to COVID-19. And it goes without saying, we at DD India are taking particular care to give you, the viewer, accurate, authentic and authoritative information so that you don't fall prey to rumors or fake news. Now, wherever in the world you might be, it is in your interest to follow protocols, advisories or guidelines issued by the authorities concerned. So please continue to stay at home, practice social distancing, wear a mask, and most importantly, wash your hands regularly with soap. All right, then let's get started. First up, the headlines. New Home Ministry guidelines for lockdown come into force. The guidelines allow easing of restrictions in the green and orange zones in some states, including opening of shops selling non-essential goods. Red zones continue to have restrictions. The federal government writes to the state, says only the movement of stranded persons has been allowed. Inter-district movement within a state continues to remain restricted. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends the Non-Aligned Movement Summit through a video conference. The summit discussed about cooperation in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Rural Development Minister Narendra Singh Tomar launches the Saras collection on the GEM portal. It showcases daily utility products made by rural self-help groups and aims to provide self-help groups in rural areas with market access to government buyers. And the Civil Services Preliminary 2020 examination postponed. It was to be held on 31st May. The UPSC to review the situation on 20th May. New date to be notified on its website. All right, first to a DD India exclusive. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, spoke to DD India on various issues such as motivation of COVID warriors, Army's role in the battle against COVID-19, threats posed by biological warfare and the response to them, social distancing as a war tactic, and how the armed forces are ready for all enemy misadventures. Listen in.
The Indian Armed Forces yesterday bestowed a great honor on the frontline workers, the COVID warriors of our country. We saw the Air Force with flight pasts. We saw helicopters showering petals on hospitals. We saw Army bands playing wonderful tunes. We saw also naval ships all lit up on the periphery. And all this was to boost the morale of those who are fighting in this great battle against COVID-19. So to discuss this and put it into context, we are very privileged to have with us none other than the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. Thanks very much, sir, for being with us. So, put that into context. Why was that all necessary, sir?
It became necessary because we felt that there are people who are fully committed and are spending difficult times under very challenging circumstances to provide succor and support to a population which has been affected by this deadly virus. These people have worked day in and day out. They have to continue working in the future, in the days ahead. Because just to say that the coronavirus will get over in a few days may not be a correct appreciation. The corona warriors who are in the front line need to remain motivated. They must have sufficient fervor in them to go on. And for that, we felt that if we as the armed forces can do something to motivate them, to keep them rejuvenated, what is it that we can do? And the little that we could do is give them the support. We do know how to motivate people because we constantly motivate our soldiers. And so there are various mechanisms that we employ. So I think we took a collective decision that this kind of a display could possibly help in raising the morale of our Corona warriors, to keep them motivated and keep them going.
And the armed forces stands ready at any time to step in, when they are required. You're already producing, the DRDO is producing PPEs. I'm sure the Army is ready to build a field hospital if necessary. So the Army stands ready in case, they're required to do more. So.
Yes, we are working with the other government agencies, particularly in sync with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, because they are the ones who are actually leading the fight. And they keep giving us guidelines, they keep giving us some kind of an assessment as to what is likely to happen in the future. And keeping that in mind, we are preparing ourselves. We have prepared a number of isolation and quarantine facilities. We have created special hospitals for treating COVID patients in the northern region, southern, eastern, western and central India. We are constantly upgrading our facilities, and let me assure you that even at the cost of inconveniencing our own soldiers, sailors and airmen, we will make sure that we provide adequate support to our people, to our citizens, depending on what kind of support they need. We will continue revving up our procedures, continue increasing our capacities in sync with the other agencies of the government.
This also comes at a time when, the whole world is at a standstill, and we can see that, a virus can bring the world to a standstill. And in the realm of asymmetric warfare, some non-state actors, some other characters may decide, that this is a form of warfare that can be, thrust upon the world in a sense, because we've seen the results. To what extent, are the defense forces, evaluating these kind of concerns?
Training for CBRN, where B stands for biological warfare, is an activity we carry out regularly from time to time. Our soldiers are taught how to operate in such an environment. We also maintain some kind of special equipment and kits for some specialized units to operate in this environment. We also have some protective measures in place. But yes, a virus of this kind can emanate any time. And I think it is high time that we start doing studies on developing, agencies and institutes which can study the effect of such viruses to prevent the security forces from getting affected. Yes, it is a real threat, and we must prepare for this in the future.
Talking about that, sir, because the security forces, if they do get affected, because we all have to maintain social distancing, it must be hard, for the armed forces who are battle ready who are ready to, go out and fight at any time, to suddenly start maintaining some restrictions to keep a potential virus out.
Well, social distancing is something which is very akin to what we do in combat. We also maintain some kind of a distance whenever you go into combat. You never give the adversary a concentrated force which he can take on in one go. So this kind of social distancing that we are talking about is part of our drill. So it doesn't affect our basic tactics of operation wherever we have to go. Yes, when we are collectively involved in an engagement or collectively carrying out some activity, particularly when it is a training activity or a seminar or a discussion, there it becomes a little difficult, but we'll have to now start modifying our drills. But operationally, I don't think social distancing will in any way affect our operational procedures, because our tactics is such that you have to maintain such distances even when you go for offensive or defensive operations.
There are, concerns that this particular virus itself could have been, a form of biological weapon. But, it looks natural. That's even the scientists say so. But, if that is a concern, if such thing can happen in the future, what sort of collaborations do countries have in terms of dealing with something like that?
Well, I'm sure there'll be some kind of consensus which will come out from amongst the international community. It's like you have some restrictions on various kind of weapons of warfare that can be used. We're quite sure some kinds of convention will emerge through consensus as to whether this kind of a virus can be used as a weapon in war. So we are quite hopeful that the international community will certainly take care of this, and we will see some guidelines coming out in the future.
Right. Final question. Now we are there are some conflict zones that we are already involved with, and because perhaps our attention is spanned elsewhere, there may be a spike in activity. We are always ready, right, to fight anything. That's the kind of that's the impression that one gets. Is that the case, sir?
Nowhere are we lowering our guard from our primary task. Troops are deployed in as much as we want them to be ready in the western front, on the northern front. The pilots required to fly the aircraft are very much continuing with the training effort. The ships and submarines are being manned to the minimum preparatory levels that we expect them to be in. So I don't think operationally in any way we are getting affected. Yes, we have some peacetime units which are involved in supporting the government in maintaining facilities for the coronavirus patients and those who are getting affected by this. But these are far and few in between. We've got enough troops in the rear areas. I'm quite sure if something happens, we will be able to move these people on the front line if required, and then collaborate with the local Central Armed Police Forces and see how we can manage these facilities. I think we can do both together.
Right. The next stage of this battle, sir, is economic. The armed forces, do they have a role to play if called upon?
The people of the nation have understood that this is a crisis which is not only affecting India, it is affecting the world. And every country in this world has been affected. So yes, there are some job losses. There is some downsizing happening elsewhere. There are some pay cuts happening, I'm told, in some institutions. But the people do understand, and in such times of crisis, the nation has always stood together. And we are quite confident. We don't visualize any kind of trouble happening because, it's like whenever we've had a war in our country, we've seen the nation coming together. And this again is a war against corona. So we are quite confident that every member of our society, every countryman, every Indian will stand and support the government initiatives in this hour of need.
General Bipin Rawat, thank you very much for talking to us here on DD News.
All right, you are watching an exclusive interview with Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat. Now to our Ground Zero segment, in which we get you ground reports by our correspondents. We start with New Delhi. Now, Phase 3 of the lockdown has begun with considerable relaxations in the national capital. My colleague Meghna Dev has more.
As we have entered lockdown 3.0, there are restrictions that have been put in place in differently defined zones as red, orange and green zones. While all the districts in Delhi are in the red zone, there have been some relaxations that have been given in areas which fall outside the containment zone. There are curbs which continue to be in place in the containment zone, but we can see there are shops, plumber shops, mechanic shops, there are stationery and optical shops, and also telecom service provider shops that are open in areas which fall in the relaxation zone, which are outside the containment zone. There are offices of the Delhi government which fall in the essential services that are functioning with full strength. Besides that, there have been directives given for the private offices to be open with 33% strength, and also there are some other shops of essential services which are standalone shops that are also open in Delhi, which are in the areas where relaxations are there in place. Obviously, there are no taxis, rickshaws, metro that is functioning. There are no public transport that are functioning because it's prohibited. But there have been relaxations that have been given for the citizens, for the convenience of citizens, besides abiding to the social distancing norms. And also there are the national directives for public places and workplaces that have to be followed. Meghna Dev from New Delhi for DD India.
To Maharashtra now, where the government has decided to lift lockdown restrictions zone-wise. It's allowed some economic activity in all zones except the containment area. Shishir Shela reports from Mumbai.
Even though the lockdown has increased in country, but the state government, Maharashtra government, has allowed certain activities in the road zone. Earlier, there was 3 zones in the state, that is red, orange and green, but the state government has added 2 more zones, and that is containment zone, as well as the other one is Mumbai region and Pune region zone. Now, obviously, the government wants to start the economic activity in the state, and that's the reason these 2 regions are quite important. That's the reason the government have taken this decision. Well, in these areas also, wherever the containment zones are there, the government have actually following all the rules as was stipulated by the central government. But in spite of that, in some red zones, the shops will be allowed to open, and certain restrictions have been lifted even in the red zone here. Well, as far as the green zone and orange zone is concerned, the government has given some relaxation to these zone here, but the red zone also included in it. And with certain permissions, now economic activity will also continue in certain areas of the red zone, except the containment zone here. Well, obviously, the Mumbai is a major region. That's the reason, looking at the numbers of, especially in Mumbai, which has crossed more than 8,000, 8,500. Now, that's quite worrisome factor here for the government. In spite of that, the government is taking various steps here. Dharavi, we have seen here the numbers increasing day by day, and that's the reason Dharavi is also considered as one of the important containment zone here. The government is focusing on it to reduce the number, have taken various steps also as far as the fever clinic is concerned, or increase the doctors and the healthcare facilities in the region is concerned. The government is also working on it, not in the Dharavi also, but in Mumbai region, the Parli and the other area where the numbers have been found to be quite high. The same case is also followed in the Pune region also, with Pune region have also included the maximum numbers here. Even though the state government has created these 5 zones here, the containment zone will remain shut as the government was following and the central government instructed earlier. But as I told you, as far as the red zone is concerned, certain restrictions have been lifted in red zone in the Maharashtra. Shishir Shela for DD News, Mumbai.
All right, shifting focus from the west now to the east. Mamita Bishwas gets you a ground report from Kolkata.
As the lockdown 3.0 started from today, various list of relaxation has been announced by the central government. But in the state West Bengal, the list has yet to be announced because which made a chaos between the people. As part of the information we have got today, there will be a meeting, cabinet meeting, where the state government will discuss do's and don'ts, and after that only they will release the list by today. Whereas in some parts we can see that in the green zones, various essential and non-essential commodities and stores are open, maintaining a social distancing and other social norms. Various private and government offices and companies are started with a 30% workforce. I would also like to mention that from today the private buses need to be started in the green zones, but due to less passengers, the bus organization has refuses to run. So likely, we need to wait for today until and unless the list comes out from the state governments of do's and don'ts in this pandemic situation. This is Mamita Bishwas from Calcutta, DD News.
To the south now, Bengaluru is in the red zone. People who ventured out of their home without a mask were fined by the police. My colleague Aisha Khanam reports.
People were relieved to see that they could move out freely today without any passes or any restrictions. However, there is no relaxation to the rule of wearing masks across the state. The Bangalore City Corporation has made it mandatory that people must wear masks when they venture out of their homes. Else, they will attract a fine of rupees up to 1,000. So on the day when the lockdown norms have been relaxed, when people ventured out of their homes today, many ended up paying huge fines. The Bangalore City Corporation admitted to collecting over 2 lakh rupees of fine today. Many were let off with warning also. On the other hand, the state government has also taken a decision to open the liquor and wine shops. The Karnataka Excise Department had apprised the Chief Minister that the state is facing a revenue loss of rupees 1,800 crores due to closure of the liquor shops. Hence, the government decided to open the liquor shops with restrictions and regulations for the buyer and the seller as well. Huge lengthy queues were witnessed outside the liquor and wine shops across the state. The liquor shops will be open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. only, and the relaxation norms in the lockdown 3 will also be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if people are found flouting the norms, they will be punished, and the government will not hesitate to detain them and seize the vehicles once again. Karnataka has reported over 600 coronavirus cases, and the government says that if the lockdown norms are followed strictly, the government will be able to bring down the numbers in near future. Aisha Khanam, DD India, Bangalore.
All right, moving on. While addressing a daily briefing, the Health Ministry said more than 1,000 people have been cured in the last 24 hours. It was the highest number till date in terms of patients cured.
अब तक टोटल 11,706 लोग क्योर हो चुके हैं और अगर हम पिछले 24 घंटे में देखें तो 1,074 people have been cured. It is such a positive news that this is the highest number in terms of cured patient noted till date. और इसके साथ ही हमारा रिकवरी रेट अब देखें तो है बढ़कर 27.52% हो चुका है.
The government said that special trains are being run to take migrant workers home.
से हमारी गाइडलाइंस ने क्लियरली कहा है कि इन्फेक्शियस डिजीज मैनेजमेंट के भाग के रूप में जो मनुष्य जहां है वहीं रहे. उसके बाद बेस्ड ऑन द रिक्वेस्ट गिवन फ्रॉम स्टेट्स फॉर पर्टिकुलर केसेस उन्होंने जब गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से रिक्वेस्ट की तो उसके बेसिस पर स्टेट की रिक्वेस्ट के तहत उन लोगों को स्पेशल ट्रेन चलाने की हमने परमिशन दी. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हो या रेलवेज हो, किसी भी कोशिश में हमने कभी भी कोई भी वर्कर से चार्ज करने की बात नहीं की है. हमने 85% जो पूरी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का कॉस्ट बियर किया जाता है वह 85% जो है वो रेलवेज बियर करती हैं, 15% स्टेट को बियर करना है. और उसी प्रोसेस और बेस्ड ऑन स्टेट्स रिक्वेस्ट जो ये प्रोसेस शुरू हुआ है कि जो कुछ लिमिटेड पैसेंजर जो स्टैंडर्ड पैसेंजर्स हैं माइग्रेंट लेबरर्स से जिनको लिमिटेड लोगों को लेके जाना है फॉर सम वेरी पर्टिकुलर रीजन, उसको स्टेट गवर्नमेंट उसी तहत में कोऑर्डिनेट भी कर रही है एक्सेप्ट फॉर 1 or 2 states.
Meanwhile, the Home Ministry spokesperson gave a detailed description of all the restrictions that will stay or be eased from today.
सभी गैर आवश्यक गतिविधियों के लिए लोगों की आवाजाही पर शाम 7 बजे से सुबह 7 बजे तक सख्ती से प्रतिबंध रहेगा. 65 वर्ष से अधिक उम्र के व्यक्तियों, बीमार लोगों, गर्भवती महिलाओं और 10 वर्ष से कम उम्र के बच्चों को आवश्यक जरूरतों और स्वास्थ्य उद्देश्यों को छोड़कर घर से बाहर निकलना वर्जित है.
In foreign news, US President Trump said there had to be more help for Americans suffering from the economic tailspin. In a possible hint, he wants the federal legislature to pass another aid bill. The comment came the day before the upper chamber of US legislature returns after the passage of the $3 trillion package to ease the heavy economic toll of the crisis.
We are very confident that we're going to have a vaccine at the end of the year. By the end of the year, have a vaccine. We're going to lose anywhere from 75, 80 to 100,000 people. That's a horrible thing. We shouldn't lose one person over this. This should have been stopped in China. It should have been stopped. But if we didn't do it, the minimum we would have lost is 1.2 million, 1.4 million, 1.5 million. That's the minimum. We would have lost probably higher than, it's possible, higher than 2.2.
Right, take a look at what else is making news around the world. Japan's Prime Minister Abe Shinzo has decided to extend the emergency to the end of the month. Abe cited his advisors as saying that Japan had not seen the explosive surge in infections seen in some countries, but the number of new infection cases had not fallen enough, and there were regions where the medical system was facing strains. Protective masks were handed out at public transport stations today as Spain began a 4-phase plan to gradually reopen the country by the end of June. Small businesses such as beauty salons and bookstores can resume limited services. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez had said that 6 million masks were due to be distributed. In the next stage, outdoor areas of bars and restaurants can open at 50% occupancy, while groups of up to 10 people will be allowed in public places and in homes. That's a wrap on the special broadcast, but news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.